The call came through at 11:30 p.m. on a Friday night, while I was shoulder deep in a radar calibration system that was bleeding money faster than a punctured fuel tank. 42,000 per hour to be exact. My phone buzzed against my coveralls. I ignored it. Then it buzzed again. I wiped my hands on a shop rag and checked the screen. Marcus Webb, my direct supervisor, calling from his suburban house where he should be having dinner with his family instead of bothering people who were actually solving problems. I almost didn't answer. When you're dealing with a radar failure that's put an $18 million submarine contract at risk and could trigger a Department of Defense investigation, phone calls from management feel about as urgent as a paper cut. But I answered anyway because that's what 22 years of being the guy who fixes things when nobody else can conditions you to do. Coleman speaking. Russell, it's Marcus. I need to inform you of a company decision. Effective immediately, we no longer require your services as Senior Defense Systems Engineer. Your employment is terminated as of today. I looked at the German-made radar array in front of me, warning lights still flashing amber. Frequency drift readings showing dangerous variations every 45 seconds. 2 separate submarine systems completely offline because of our emergency protocols. Michael Rodriguez, the facility manager, standing 15 feet away, watching me with the kind of desperate hope you see on people who know they're completely screwed without help they can't get anywhere else. I understand, I said, keeping my voice level. I'll inform Michael that you'll be handling the radar calibration procedures for the crisis I'm currently managing. Silence long enough that I thought the call might have dropped. What crisis? The radar system failure that brought me here at 5 p.m. yesterday. 2 submarine radar arrays are down. We're looking at potential contract termination and Department of Defense compliance violations. I'm in the middle of tracing the frequency drift through systems that haven't been properly documented since 1995. I assume you'll want to send someone else to complete the diagnostic work since I no longer work for Atlantic Defense. More silence. I could hear him breathing, probably trying to process what he'd just stepped in. Russell, let's discuss this after you've resolved the facility situation. I don't think that's appropriate. You just terminated my employment. I shouldn't be working on Atlantic Defense projects if I'm no longer a company employee. I'll brief Michael on what I've discovered so far and head home. Or actually, I guess I won't bother stopping by the office since you said my employment is terminated. Wait, Russell, let me call you back. He ended the call before I could respond. My name is Russell Coleman. I'm 49 years old and I just got fired while managing an equipment crisis that nobody else at my company knows how to solve. At 49, I thought I had maybe 16 good working years left before thinking about retirement. I thought I'd built enough expertise and reputation in defense contracting to coast into my later years with respect and security. That phone call changed everything. Before I explain what happened over the next 3 days, let me establish who I am and why that phone call was the most expensive mistake Marcus Webb ever made. My path to this moment started long before Atlantic Defense Systems. I spent 8 years in the Navy, most of it underwater on nuclear submarines, where you learn that when electronic systems fail 400 feet below the surface, there's no calling for backup. You fix it yourself or everybody dies. That kind of pressure teaches you things about troubleshooting that no civilian training program can match. I was an electronics technician on the USS Hartford, a Los Angeles-class fast-attack submarine. My job was maintaining the sonar and radar arrays that kept us invisible and alive. These weren't simple systems. German-engineered frequency modulators, Norwegian-built magnetron assemblies, components that cost more than most people's houses and had tolerances measured in microseconds. The Navy taught me something that served me well in civilian life. Old doesn't mean obsolete. The Hartford was commissioned in 1993, but her electronics were constantly upgraded with new components bolted onto 20-year-old frameworks. You had to understand not just how the original system worked, but how every modification affected everything else. One wrong adjustment and a $2 billion submarine becomes a very expensive coffin. When I left the Navy in 2001, I had 8 years of experience with the most sophisticated electronic warfare systems on Earth. More importantly, I had something that couldn't be taught in any engineering program: the ability to diagnose complex failures under life or death pressure. I joined Atlantic Defense Systems in 2002 as a radar technician specializing in naval equipment. Back then, the defense industry was just starting to realize that their legacy systems weren't going anywhere. Companies were running critical submarine operations on radar and sonar equipment built in the 1980s and 1990s, most of it German-engineered and built to last 40 years. My role was troubleshooting complex electronic failures in systems that younger engineers didn't understand and couldn't repair. When a naval facility had radar breakdown and their maintenance department couldn't identify the problem, they called me. Over 22 years, I'd responded to 285 equipment emergencies across 12 states. I diagnosed magnetron failures, traced waveguide problems, identified timing synchronization issues, and prevented system shutdowns that could have cost clients millions in missed delivery deadlines and contract penalties. The work took me everywhere. Shipyards in Virginia, where aircraft carriers got their electronics overhauled. Naval stations in California, where submarine crews trained on simulated combat scenarios. Defense contractors in Connecticut, where new sonar arrays were tested before installation. Each job was different. Each system had unique quirks, and each failure required understanding not just the technology, but the history of every modification and repair that had been made over decades. I'd worked through hurricanes, holidays, and family vacations. I missed my brother's 50th birthday party to fix a sonar array failure at a shipyard in San Diego. I spent my 46th birthday in a maintenance tunnel in Connecticut rebuilding frequency modulators while my wife Susan celebrated alone at home. When Hurricane Isabel hit the East Coast in 2003, I spent 4 days in a flooded facility in Norfolk, working waist-deep in contaminated water to restore radar systems that the Coast Guard needed for rescue operations. That was the old way of doing business. When you gave a company your word, you kept it. When they had a crisis, you showed up. Loyalty was supposed to be a two-way street, or at least I thought it was. Most importantly, I developed deep expertise in German radar systems that most of the defense industry still runs on, but nobody teaches anymore. Every installation had unique configurations. Every system had custom modifications. Every maintenance protocol had quirks that existed only in my experience-based understanding of how those systems behaved under stress. That knowledge was what made me valuable. That knowledge was also what Marcus Webb had just eliminated from Atlantic Defense's crisis response capability at the worst possible moment. The equipment failure had started 38 hours earlier. Our main radar array, a 1994 Telefunken system that provided targeting data for submarine navigation, had begun showing frequency irregularities during the night shift. By morning, a secondary array was exhibiting similar problems. By noon Friday, both systems were locked down due to safety protocols. This was the kind of cascading failure that kept facility managers awake at night. Someone with serious technical knowledge was needed to trace the root cause through 30 years of modifications, repairs, and workarounds that most people assumed were too complex to fully understand. They were wrong. Old equipment isn't automatically reliable equipment. It's just equipment that nobody remembers how to fix properly when it breaks. I took my truck to the facility Friday morning, arriving at 6:30 a.m. Michael Rodriguez met me at the security entrance. He looked like he hadn't slept in 3 days, which he probably hadn't. "Russell, thank God you're here. We've been down for 20 hours. Corporate is asking why we can't get our systems running ourselves. Because this failure pattern is affecting components that require hands-on frequency analysis to properly diagnose. I need to examine the magnetron assemblies directly." He led me to the operations floor. 2 massive radar installations, each one capable of processing targeting data for multiple submarine systems simultaneously when they weren't locked down due to equipment failures. All silent now, all offline, all costing Atlantic Defense approximately $42,000 per hour in contract penalties. This was the kind of place that reminded me why I got into this business. These weren't just machines. They were the backbone of American naval defense. Every targeting calculation, every navigation update, every threat assessment came through systems like these. And when they went down, real consequences followed. Submarine crews lost critical navigation support. Naval operations faced delays. Mission readiness suffered. The facility reminded me of the forward torpedo room on the Hartford, where we kept the most sensitive sonar equipment. Same sense of controlled chaos. Same mixture of cutting-edge technology and decades-old infrastructure. The difference was that on a submarine, when something broke, you had a crew of specialists who lived and breathed those systems 24 hours a day. Here, they had me, and when I wasn't around, they had nobody. I spent the next 11 hours tracing the failure through electronic schematics, identifying the exact frequency modulators that were malfunctioning, and mapping the cascade effect through interconnected systems. This wasn't some routine maintenance issue. This was sophisticated electronic failure that required understanding exactly how these German systems had been modified over 30 years. The work took me back to my Navy days, crawling through maintenance spaces that were never designed for human access, following cable runs that snaked through bulkheads and around structural supports. The difference was that on the Hartford, we had technical manuals that were updated every few months. Here, I was working with documentation from 1994, trying to trace modifications that had been made by technicians who retired years ago. By 6 to F.M., I'd identified the root cause. A magnetron tube in the primary array was generating harmonic frequencies that were interfering with the secondary system. But the interference wasn't random. It was caused by degraded waveguides that hadn't been replaced during routine maintenance. The degradation was causing frequency drift across both interconnected systems. It was exactly the kind of failure that looked simple on paper, but required institutional memory to properly diagnose. The magnetron tube itself was working fine. The waveguides looked normal to casual inspection. But if you understood how these German systems were designed, you knew that the waveguide tolerances were so tight that even minor degradation could create harmonic interference that wouldn't show up on standard diagnostic equipment. Fixing it required replacing magnetron assemblies, rebuilding waveguide connections, and recalibrating frequency synchronization protocols. This wasn't like replacing a car battery. You couldn't just order new parts and plug them in. Every component had to be tested, calibrated, and integrated with surgical precision. One mistake and you could destroy equipment worth $4 million. I estimated 16 to 20 hours of careful electronic work across both systems. It was the kind of work that required not just technical knowledge, but institutional memory. You had to understand not just how the equipment worked, but why it was configured that way, what modifications had been made over the years, and how those modifications affected system behavior. The Navy had taught me that complex repairs couldn't be rushed. On a submarine, taking shortcuts with electronic systems could kill everyone aboard. The same principle applied here, just with different stakes. Instead of risking lives, I was risking a defense contract worth $8 million and the reputation of everyone involved. I called Susan around 7 p.m. to let her know I'd be working through the night. Another emergency? She asked. I could hear the resignation in her voice. 22 years of marriage to someone in defense contracting, and she'd learned that Friday night dinner plans were always tentative. Bad one. 2 radar arrays down, and they need them back online before the Navy inspection on Monday. How long? Probably through the weekend. I'll try to get home Sunday afternoon. Russell, you need to start thinking about what happens when they don't need you to save them anymore. At the time, I thought she was worrying about nothing. I was 49, experienced, and the only person at Atlantic Defense who could handle this kind of crisis. Why would they not need me? They'll always need someone who can fix the complex problems, I told her. That's what your father said about the steel mill, she replied, right up until they closed it down and moved production to Mexico. I promised her we'd talk about it after I got the systems running. At the time, I had no idea how prophetic that conversation would turn out to be. I started at 10 p.m. Friday night. By 11:15 p.m., I was halfway through replacing the first magnetron assembly when Marcus called and told me I was fired. The timing was so perfect, it seemed almost planned. Here I was, the only person who could solve their most expensive crisis, and they chose that exact moment to eliminate me from the payroll. The irony wasn't lost on me, but I was too focused on the immediate problem to appreciate how completely Marcus had just destroyed his own career. After Marcus hung up, Michael approached me cautiously. You could see the panic starting to set in as he processed what he'd just overheard. Russell, is everything all right? You look concerned. I just got terminated by my employer while in the middle of repairing your radar systems. His expression went from concerned to horrified. In his world, facilities didn't just close for the weekend. Every hour these systems stayed down was costing his operation money and contracts it couldn't afford to lose. Terminated. But you're the only person who understands our radar systems. What happens to our equipment? That's an excellent question. Atlantic Defense will need to send someone else to complete the work. How long will that take? The other technician who understands these German systems is Trevor Martinez. He's in San Diego managing a shipyard upgrade. Atlantic Defense might have to wait until he becomes available. How long? Trevor's project is scheduled for another 10 days plus travel time. Michael's face went white. I could see him doing the math in his head. We can't wait 10 days. Every day offline costs us over $1 million in contract penalties plus operational losses. 10 days would be over $10 million in damages. Then I suggest you contact Atlantic Defense Corporate and explain the urgency. At 1:45 a.m., my phone rang again. This time it was Jennifer Hayes, Atlantic Defense's Chief Operating Officer. Jennifer had been with the company for 12 years and understood exactly how critical my role was to defense contract management. She was also smart enough to realize that Marcus had just made a catastrophic error in judgment. Russell, I just got off the phone with Marcus. There's been a misunderstanding about your employment status. We need you to complete the equipment repairs before we discuss any personnel matters. Jennifer, Marcus was very clear. He said my employment was terminated effective immediately. That's not a misunderstanding. That's termination. I could hear the desperation creeping into her voice. Jennifer understood the implications in a way that Marcus obviously didn't. This wasn't just about one disgruntled employee. This was about Atlantic Defense's entire reputation in the defense industry. I understand this is confusing, but let's focus on resolving the operational crisis first. We can address your employment situation after you've secured the systems. I don't think that's appropriate. If I'm terminated, I shouldn't be working on Atlantic Defense projects. If I'm not terminated, then Marcus needs to call me back and clarify that he made an error. This is a critical defense contract situation. These systems are costing hundreds of thousands of dollars per day. We need you to complete the radar repairs. Then you need to clarify my employment status first. Am I an Atlantic Defense employee or not? Long pause. I could hear Jennifer thinking through the implications. If she said I was still employed, she'd be contradicting Marcus's termination and creating internal political problems. If she said I was terminated, she'd be admitting that Atlantic Defense had just eliminated their crisis response capability in the middle of their most expensive emergency. Russell, let me conference in Marcus so we can resolve this together. I'd rather you didn't. Marcus was clear about his decision. I'm respecting that decision by no longer working on Atlantic Defense projects. If the facility needs assistance, they should contact company headquarters and request another technician. There is no other technician available who understands these legacy radar systems. That's an unfortunate situation, but it's not my problem anymore since I'm no longer an Atlantic Defense employee. I ended the call. Michael was standing nearby, having heard my side of the conversation. The weight of the situation was settling on his shoulders like a lead blanket. At my age, I'd seen this look before. The moment when someone in management realizes they're completely dependent on something they don't understand and can't control. What should we do, Russell? You should contact Atlantic Defense headquarters and request emergency technical support, explain the urgency of the situation. They'll prioritize getting someone here as quickly as possible. But you're here now, you understand our systems. You're in the middle of fixing the problem. Can't you just complete the work? I thought about that carefully. In the old days, you'd finish the job regardless of company politics because it was the right thing to do. But I'd learned something important over 22 years in corporate defense contracting. Loyalty has to go both ways. I'd given Atlantic Defense my best years, missed family events, worked holidays, and built their reputation one crisis at a time. The moment it became convenient, they threw me away like a broken circuit board. I was fired 2 hours ago. I can't ethically continue working on a project for a company that just terminated my employment. What if we hired you directly? Not through Atlantic Defense, but as an independent consultant working for this facility. Now, that was interesting. I'd never considered going independent, but at 49, maybe it was time to think about options beyond the corporate ladder. My wife Susan had been telling me for months that I was too valuable to let one company control my future. She'd grown up watching her father work 31 years for a steel company, only to get laid off 6 months before retirement. That would create contractual complications. Your facility has maintenance agreements with Atlantic Defense. Those agreements probably have exclusivity provisions preventing you from hiring outside consultants to work on Atlantic Defense managed systems. I'll check our contracts. He called the facility's legal department, had a quick conversation that involved a lot of technical terms and urgent whispers, then looked at me with cautious optimism. Our legal team says the maintenance agreement has exclusivity provisions for routine service, but emergency repairs can be conducted by any qualified consultant if Atlantic Defense cannot provide timely support. They're defining timely support as within 48 hours of request. That was the opening I needed, not just to solve this immediate crisis, but to test whether there was a future beyond Atlantic Defense. At 49, I was too old to start over at another company, but maybe not too old to start working for myself. Have you formally requested emergency support from Atlantic Defense? He sent an email to Atlantic Defense's operations coordinator, copying me, formally requesting immediate technical support for the radar system failure, and noting that the previous technician me was no longer available to complete the repair work. He marked it urgent and requested response within 8 hours. At 4:20 a.m., we received a response from Atlantic Defense's maintenance coordinator that told us everything we needed to know about how this was going to play out. We acknowledge your request for emergency technical support. Our senior defense engineers are currently committed to other client projects. We are working to identify available resources and will provide an estimated response timeline within 24 hours. 24 hours? In corporate speak, that meant they had no idea how to solve this problem without me, but they weren't ready to admit it yet. Jennifer was probably spending her Saturday morning calling every contractor and consultant she could find, trying to locate someone who understood German radar systems well enough to not make the crisis worse. Michael showed me the email with the kind of desperate expression you see on people who are watching their career go down in flames through no fault of their own. What does this mean? It means Atlantic Defense doesn't have anyone available to send. Trevor is in San Diego, and apparently nobody else at Atlantic Defense has the expertise to handle legacy radar failures. So we wait, unless you want to exercise your contract provision and hire an independent consultant. Are you available as an independent consultant? This was the moment. At 49, after 22 years of corporate life, I was being offered the chance to work for myself, to set my own rates, choose my own projects, and never again have to worry about some manager deciding my expertise was too expensive. Susan had been right. This wasn't a crisis. It was an opportunity. I could be. What would your rate structure look like? I thought about that carefully. Independent consulting rates for emergency defense work typically range from $200 to $450 per hour, depending on expertise level and urgency. I was at the top of the expertise scale, and this was definitely urgent. But more than that, I was the only person available who could solve this problem. That kind of scarcity has value. $285 per hour for emergency equipment repair, minimum 20-hour engagement to ensure complete system restoration and testing. That's $5,700 total payment terms. 50% deposit before I resume work, remaining 50% upon successful system restart. Michael didn't even blink. When your facility is losing $42,000 per hour and faces contract penalties that could reach millions, $5,700 for a solution starts looking like a bargain. Done. I'll have our finance department process the deposit immediately. At 5:15 a.m. Saturday morning, my phone chimed with a bank transfer notification. $2,850 had just cleared into my personal checking account, more money than I'd ever received for a single night's work in my entire career. At 5:30 a.m., I resumed work on the radar repairs, but now I was working for myself. The funny thing about doing the same work as an independent consultant instead of a corporate employee is how different it feels. Every hour I worked was billable. Every problem I solved was building my reputation instead of someone else's company. Every decision was mine to make. For the first time in 22 years, I wasn't just fixing someone else's crisis. I was building my own future. The work itself went smoother than expected. Without corporate approval processes slowing me down, I could make technical decisions in real time. No waiting for managers to sign off on parts orders. No documenting every step for people who wouldn't understand the technical details anyway. Just me, the equipment, and the expertise I'd built over 3 decades. By 3 p.m. Saturday, I'd completed the magnetron replacements across both systems. By 7:30 p.m., I'd rebuilt the waveguide connections and updated the calibration protocols. By 11:00 p.m., both radar arrays were back online with no frequency drift and no targeting errors. Total downtime, 34 hours. Total losses, approximately $1.43 million. But the systems were running and the repairs I'd implemented would prevent similar radar failures for the next 5 years. More importantly, I'd just proven to myself that I didn't need Atlantic Defense. They needed me. When I got home Sunday morning, Susan was drinking coffee on the back porch, reading the newspaper like it was any other weekend. "How did it go?" she asked without looking up. "I got fired Friday night." That got her attention. She set down her coffee and looked at me with the expression of someone trying to determine if this was good news or bad news. "And then I got hired as an independent consultant at $285 per hour." She smiled. "Finally. I was wondering how long it would take you to figure out what I've been telling you for 8 years. Which is what? That you were too good for them. That you were making other people rich off your expertise while worrying about whether they'd keep you around. Now you get to make yourself rich. She was right, as usual. Over the next 7 weeks, I received 15 emergency calls from defense facilities experiencing equipment failures. Each call followed the same pattern. Complex breakdown on legacy systems. Atlantic Defense couldn't respond quickly enough. Could I help as an independent consultant? I helped all 15 clients. Total consulting revenue, $52,000 for 7 weeks of work. That was more than I'd made in the previous 11 months at Atlantic Defense. Word spreads fast in the defense industry. By October, I was receiving calls from naval facilities that had never worked with Atlantic Defense, asking if I was available for preventive maintenance audits and ongoing equipment consulting. These weren't emergency calls. They were facilities that wanted to prevent emergencies by having someone who understood their legacy systems before problems occurred. By December, I had 5 long-term consulting contracts with facilities who wanted guaranteed access to my radar expertise when they needed it. Combined retainer revenue, $8,500 monthly, approximately $102,000 annually, plus additional project fees. In February, Atlantic Defense formally offered me a consulting arrangement. $285 per hour for active repair work, $2,200 monthly retainer for availability and consultation, 12-month contract renewable at my discretion. I accepted because it was guaranteed revenue, and Atlantic Defense represented one of the most reliable sources of emergency work. Marcus Webb lasted until April. The board terminated him after they calculated that his decision to fire me during the radar crisis had cost Atlantic Defense approximately $485,000 in lost client contracts, emergency response costs, and consulting fees they were now paying me instead of employing me directly. The irony wasn't lost on me. They were now paying me more in 10 months than they'd paid me in 3 years as an employee. I stayed independent. By late 2024, I was managing 6 long-term consulting relationships with defense facilities across the East Coast. Annual revenue was approaching $295,000. I was working approximately 65% of the hours I'd worked at Atlantic Defense, while earning nearly 3 times my previous salary. More importantly, I was valued. When clients called me for equipment crisis, they understood they were paying premium rates for premium expertise. Nobody questioned whether my approach was worth the investment. They'd all seen what happened when they tried to solve legacy system failures without specialized knowledge. But the real change wasn't financial, it was psychological. For the first time in my career, I wasn't worried about layoffs, corporate restructuring, or some new manager deciding I was too expensive. My security came from my expertise, not from someone else's decision about whether to keep me around. Susan and I started talking about things we'd never been able to plan before. Maybe helping our daughter with her graduate school without worrying about our own retirement savings. Maybe taking that trip to Germany we'd always wanted but never felt we could afford. Maybe buying that boat we'd been looking at every summer for the past 5 years. At 49, I thought my best working years were behind me. Instead, I discovered they were just beginning. The experience taught me something my grandfather never had the chance to learn. He worked 34 years for the same naval shipyard, believing that loyalty and hard work would guarantee security. When the Navy moved operations to newer facilities, they eliminated his pension and laid him off at 61. He spent his last 4 working years bouncing between part-time jobs, never again finding the security he thought he'd earned. I wasn't going to make his mistake. Here's what I learned from the entire experience, and what I wish I'd understood 20 years earlier. The most dangerous employee to fire isn't the one who complains about management or threatens to quit. It's the one who's literally in the middle of solving a crisis that nobody else knows how to solve when you decide they're expendable. Because when you fire that person, you don't just lose their future contributions, you lose their ability to prevent the immediate disaster that's happening right now. And you discover that replacing specialized expertise during an emergency isn't just expensive, it's often impossible. Marcus wanted to reduce payroll and eliminate what he saw as an expensive senior technician. He got exactly what he wanted. I was eliminated. But my expertise wasn't eliminated. It just got a lot more expensive and started working for the competition. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving people wrong. It's letting them experience the full cost of being right about what they wanted. At 49, I finally learned what took my grandfather a lifetime to figure out, but too late to benefit from. Your value isn't determined by what one company is willing to pay you, it's determined by what the market will pay for what you know how to do. Getting fired wasn't the end of my career. It was the beginning of the career I should have had all along. One where my expertise was properly valued because I controlled how it was deployed. That phone call at 11:30 p.m. on a Friday night didn't destroy my future. It finally set it free. In corporate America, they'll call you family right up until the moment they decide you're too expensive. But your expertise belongs to you, not them, and the market will always pay more for real value than any single employer ever will. The most powerful position you can ever hold isn't a title on someone else's org chart. It's being the only person who can solve the problem when everything is falling apart. Because that's when you discover your true worth isn't what they were willing to pay you. Sometimes the greatest gift your enemies can give you is forcing you to discover what you're truly worth when you're no longer willing to accept less than that value. The day they fire you for being too expensive is the day you finally learn you've been too cheap all along.